And here's the other one, Noah Nixon. Alley-oop, Hooper!
Alice Brown closing the stagger on Bulgaria. She is burning up the turn.
Here's a drive hit deep. A grand slam home run for Darrell Evans.
My name is Elvester Strong, Jr., born and raised on Fair Oaks and Tremont, Pasadena, California. By way of Warren, Arkansas, my whole family, everybody, I'm related to just about everybody in Pasadena. My dad at a young age, my mom, they ventured out and said, let's go west, young man, and he came out here. I was born in Pasadena, been here, ever since. I went to Lincoln Elementary, Madison Elementary, Cleveland Elementary, ended up at Washington Elementary, then Washington Junior High School, and then John Muir High School and Pasadena City College. Pasadena, I've always said, was a special place to grow up, especially during the time that I grew up, the early 60s and 70s. I tell everybody Pasadena was the best place in the world to raise a family. And yes, enticed to go several different ways, because we also come up in an era full of athletes, an era full of the neighborhood cats, that could have straddled the fence, could have went any way, and to me, that's where good coaches came in to play for us, Those guys were the ones that knew your family. They could walk in your house, tell on you. They could tell on you, because they were almost like relatives. They grew up with our parents. So it was a lot of fun growing up in Pasadena, and you were held accountable no matter where you were in Pasadena. You have to be looking over your shoulder because somebody might be out there that could go to your house. They could probably give you a butt whooping on the streets, and then go home, you get another one. So I played baseball, West Pasadena Little League. We started at Manzanita Park. And that's where the minor leagues played at, and then the dream was to get over to Villa Park with the major leaguers. So that's where we ended up at, major leagues over in Pasadena, and that came with, oh God, Pasadena had so many athletes. It was phenomenal and incredible. And if you was gonna be part of that, you had to be a baller. I really wanted to go to PHS because that's where all of my relatives were at, and I would have been at PHS had they not started the segregation. I was at Washington Junior High, and I'm almost certain the year before I graduated from Washington Junior High, the year before is when they started segregating the schools. So it was kind of strange and weird at the same time. I grew up on Howard Street between Glen and Mentone. Everybody on the south side of Howard Street went to PHS. Everybody on the north side went to John Muir High School. So I was in the John Muir High School crew, and that was a little strange in itself also because everybody I went to John Muir High School, I kind of knew them from playing in Little League and Pop Warner and all that stuff, but most of those cats were from Altadena. When I finished with high school, I thought I was finished with school, and I was in the living room one day and my dad told me, he said, I need you down there at college signing up. And I told him, I said, I'm not going to college. I'm finna go to work. And he says, so you old enough to talk back now? I was like, oh my God, here we go. And I said, no, I'm not talking back. I just want to buy me a car. He said, is that all you want out of life? And he stood up over me. So you know where I was at Monday morning. I was down at Pasadena City College filling out every bit of paperwork that they had. I actually went there to run the 110s and the long jump and triple jump. I was thrown in the 400-meter hurdles strictly on Skip coaching. He's coaching for points. And we had a guy named John Rudd who was the best 400-meter hurdler in the nation at that time. And there was a guy at East LA College, I remember vividly, his name Lou McLaughlin. McLaughlin was a 100 and 200 meter man, and he was good. And Skip wanted John to run against him. Skip believed that John could beat him, even though John was a 400-meter hurdler. Skip was gambling, rolling the dice for John to beat McLaughlin in the 200. And then he said, Junior, I need you to run the 400-meter hurdles today. I said, man, I'm not running that far. And he said, Junior, he said, their fastest man probably only could run maybe 59 or 60. And he says, and I know you could probably run somewhere between 55 and 56, he says, on a slow day. And he said, I just need you to run them this one time. And so that was the beginning of me running the 400-meter hurdles. I got in the race and I probably beat that guy by a good 20 yards, and Skip came to me right after that race and said, you know what you're going to be running next year, huh? And I said, oh, man. I said, whatever. So with that being said, watching those guys run during the rest of that season after the East LA track meet, I think we had 3 or 4 more track meets to go, and I kind of made up my mind that's what I was going to be doing, and I ran against John Rudd, and he would wham me out every track meet. But I didn't let it bother me because of how good he was. And so when summertime came, I spent just about every summer in Arkansas. So when I went to Arkansas, I used to run those dirt roads all the time, and I said, well, and I looked at John Rudd and all those guys going to all these different big meets and state meets and getting invited to go everywhere. I said, that's going to be me next year. And that's how I ended up in the 400-meter hurdles. And yes, I did. Them dirt roads in Arkansas was another thing that paved the way for me to be as good as I was, along with the good coaching that I had. My sophomore year, I had already told myself nobody's gonna beat me, and I went about my way. Confidence was over the top, without being arrogant, without being boastful. None of that. I wasn't that type of guy, anyways. But I was full of confidence that I was going to be good, and I became even more confident. I think our first meet was against Long Beach City College, and they had this guy over there named Andre Harper, and he was a talker. And he came to me while I was sitting down stretching out, telling me how he was gonna whoop my butt. I said, well, I'm gonna meet you in the blocks, and after that was a 110 high hurdle. And everybody I ran against, I was 5'9". Everybody I ran against was 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". All of them were pretty tall guys, just like Harper was. And 110 hurdles, wore him out. And then he said, oh, I'll see you in the 400-meter hurdles. And I said, I'll be in the blocks again. 400-meter hurdles, ran off and left him. And that was probably setting the stage for me to get better and better and better, and then also learning that people will talk, but you got to put it on the ground. Walt being a hurdler himself, he was always my hurdles coach at Pasadena City College, and from day one with Walt, he just got in there and taught me a lot of the hurdling techniques. I ended up learning some from John Muir High School, watching guys like Fred Shaw and Carl Cruz. Those guys were good. Fred Shaw was state champion, and the hurdles just always looked like a race that just took so much skill, and it looked like a race that was just, man, you have to know what you're doing, and you have to be good at it, and you have to have the technique. So that's how Walt came into the picture for me. Was he taught me the hurdling technique, and I still, being as short as I was still going over the hurdle. I had to balance myself a lot of times. I was doing, waving my arms out like I was walking a tightrope, and then after a while I started getting it in pretty tight. So I won the state championship. That was interesting too. That was a lot of fun. They had a guy named Walter Pratt who he and I were neck and neck, and I had only ran against him once in the Southern Cal Finals. He didn't run against me in the dual meet. His coach had him doing something else. I was really looking forward to running against him in that dual meet, and it was a disappointment. But either way it went, we had a great team. So we went up there to win the meet. So that's what we did. And so I finally got to run against Walter Pratt in the Southern Cal Finals. He was winning his heats, I was winning my heats, and we were looking out for each other. You could just feel it, And when it came down to that final race, I could remember it clear as day, man. I broke out, I'm running, and Walter's up there. He's another tall guy. And coming off that 330, man, I'm right there neck and neck with him, and I hit a hurdle, and he beat me. And right then and there, I didn't take that as a loss. I took that as, I got you, boy, in the state meet. State meet is mine. I'm gonna be the big dog when this is over with, and that's what happened. And I can remember clear as day, man, and it felt like you were in the Olympics, The stands were full, because back then, man, it was standing room only at the track meets, and when that gun sounded up at Bakersfield, man, we broke out of there, and I told myself, nobody beats me today. And me and Pratt ended up off the top of the curve with a couple of the other guys, and that's when that second wind kicked in, and coming off that curve this time, I said, Junior, you ain't hitting no hurdles today, baby. And we come off that curve, and I ran up beside Walter Pratt, and they used to call it the bear jumping on your back. You can run up on somebody and they tighten up. And I saw him tightening up, and I was like, today is mine, baby. And there goes that story. And that put me as on junior college level, not only was I state champion, I was #1 in the nation at that particular time. And then I won an award called the McGuire Award. That was for the best track athlete in the nation at that time on the junior college level.
Yeah, Elvester ran where the pavement ends. Dirt roads calling like a long lost friend. The Arkansas heat kissed his skin. No shade, dreams of gold where hurdles are laid. Street lights flicker but they can't compete with the fire in his heart, the rhythm of his feet. Run the dirt road, leave the dust behind.